In this video, I'm going to discuss 8 foods that cause anxiety. Make sure you stick around to the end as the last foods are often overlooked. If you haven't met me before, I'm Dr Janelle Sinclair and I'm a biochemist and natural medicine practitioner, and I specialise in natural remedies for depression and anxiety. So make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Now, the first food that causes anxiety is coffee. I know that this is an obvious one, but for so many of my clients before seeing me, they were still making this mistake. Even one coffee a day, if you have anxiety, panic attacks, or poor sleep onset, is a major problem. Caffeine increases your stress hormones, those fight and flight response, and it's known that anxiety is triggered by these hormones, so you don't want to overstimulate your adrenal glands. My recommendation is that you don't drink any coffee at all if you have anxiety, panic attacks, or you find it hard to get to sleep. Stop drinking coffee right now. Do you hear me? I know it can be hard to reduce your coffee because for many people with anxiety, you may have depression or low motivation. But it's a vicious circle really. By drinking coffee you wear out your adrenal glands, which leads to more fatigue and more anxiety. So please reduce your coffee today. And make sure you don't make this second mistake too. Now, don't go replacing the coffee with tea or green tea. Yes, these drinks have reduced caffeine in them, but for those that are sensitive to caffeine, they can also cause a problem. The bottom line is drop all coffee, tea and green tea for 3 weeks and any other beverages or food that contain caffeine. Now, the third food that causes anxiety is sweets and any other food that contains high amounts of sugar. You see, these foods cause blood sugar imbalances. Let me explain. What happens with eating lots of sugar is that the blood sugars climb very quickly. But the body doesn't like high levels of sugar in the blood because it's not good for our small blood vessels and heart, and long term it causes problems with the kidneys, eyes and nerves. So to get the blood sugar levels down, the body releases insulin, and this leads to your blood sugar levels dropping. The body doesn't like having low blood sugar levels either, so then it responds by releasing adrenaline and cortisol. But this release of adrenaline and cortisol is what can trigger anxiety in sensitive people. Many people don't realize that their anxiety is actually caused by low blood sugars or reactive hypoglycemia. The symptoms of low blood sugar is very similar to anxiety and include dizziness, racing heart, difficulty breathing, shaking, sweating, difficulty thinking and irritability. So in short, these sweet foods and other foods that have lots of sugar in them can lead to your blood sugars going too high and then dropping too low, which triggers an adrenaline release and anxiety. One of my clients was having 4 to 5 panic attacks a day and constant anxiety, and one of the most effective strategies that worked for her was balancing her blood sugars, including keeping off all sugary foods and eating 6 times a day. So, is there any foods that make your anxiety worse? And have you tried going off any of these before? Well, let me know your experiences in the comment section below because I'd love to hear from you. The fourth food that can trigger anxiety is alcohol. The problem with alcohol is that it's usually high in sugar, and it can lead to low blood sugars just like other sweet food. And another problem with sugar and alcohol is that it can feed the bad bacteria in our gut. And the thing is that poor gut health can cause anxiety too. My suggestion is to reduce the amount of alcohol that you're drinking as much as you can, and if you want to drink, make sure that you're eating it alongside protein-rich foods that can help you stabilize your blood sugars. Now, the three next foods that I want to mention are terrible for anxiety because they deliver a double blow. They're both high in caffeine and high in sugar, and that is such a bad recipe for anxiety. The next food that I want to mention that causes anxieties is Coke and Mountain Dew. As I said, they both contain sugar and caffeine, so stop consuming them today. Remember that all fizzy drinks or sodas should also be avoided, except for sparkling water. And unfortunately, all diet sodas are bad for anxiety too, because the artificial sweetener that they contain, called aspartame, is actually stimulatory to the brain and can provoke anxiety. Energy drinks are also a problem for anxiety because, like Coke, they have high amounts of caffeine and sugar. The third food that delivers a double whammy is chocolate. It contains caffeine and it has heaps of sugar in it too. So I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you really want to stop eating this too. I know that many of you will be saying, but I eat the really healthy dark chocolate. And I know that this has lower amounts of sugar in it, but did you know that the darker the chocolate, the higher amount of caffeine in it? So my recommendation would be to go off all chocolate until your anxiety is resolved. Once you get on top of it, then you control a little bit and see how you respond. The eighth food that causes anxiety is onion and garlic. I know that this is a bit of a strange one, but let me tell you how it could be triggering your anxiety. The onions and garlic could be feeding the bad bacteria in your small intestines. The bad bugs then release stimulatory neurotransmitters or neurotoxins that can lead to anxiety. It's not only onions and garlic that can feed these bad bacteria, it can be lentils, beans and particular fruits. But if onions and garlics affect you, or you have brain fog in addition to anxiety, then I'd suggest that you think about your gut health. If you want to learn about healing your anxiety through optimizing your diet and healing your poor gut health, then you need my new online course. It teaches you a comprehensive approach to treating anxiety and depression naturally. It's the approach that I've developed by working with hundreds of clients over the last 7 years. In the course, I teach you about foods to heal your anxiety, what foods to avoid, as well as improving your gut health. I have a section on blood sugar imbalances and some overlooked ways to treat them, not just through diet alone, but with supplements. In addition, I teach you about common nutritional deficiencies, including what foods you must eat to bring your body back into balance. So check that out at drjanellesinclair.com/e-course, and I'll see you next time.